Okay, welcome to the Maker's Vault. My name is Willie Eichele, and we have switched things up a little bit, if you can't tell. I am in the interviewer seat, and my interviewee is my daughter, Shae. So how does it feel, Shae, to be on the other side of the fence?
It's actually kind of weird. I didn't really know how to prepare for this because I'm normally the one asking the questions, not answering them.
Yeah, well, we're going to have some fun today. Basically, Shae's coming up on her fifth year, right?
Yep.
In
September.
It'll be September.
5 years.
It'll be 5 years working for the HEH group, and I'm often asked as I'm traveling around, and everybody has become pretty familiar with Shae because being our brand ambassador for the group. How she got in the business, why she got into the business, some of the challenges that she's had in the business, what she's learned, who she's learned from, and things like that. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to switch it up a little bit and take advantage of the Maker's Vault episode here to educate everybody a little bit more on Shae Bird's background.
Shae Bird.
I've called Shae Bird since she was born, so you'll have to excuse me. That might slip out once in a while. So anyway, all right. So let's back up to the decision that you had to make to join the business. Now,
Yep.
You can get into a little bit more of it. Certainly, I know that you always wanted to be either a sports agent or a Fox News analyst
Mm-hmm.
or a sports broadcaster of some sort growing up when you were little. And then, of course, you wanted to do the law thing,
Yep.
and that didn't. You thankfully thankfully for our group, you decided against that in your off year, whatever we called that before the schools, and you decided to join us. But walk us through that decision process, because this industry, even though you saw me in it growing up your entire life, you didn't really have any hands-on experience or know much about it. So,
No, I didn't.
So walk the audience through your decision-making process of when you decided to join.
Yeah, so there was multiple factors, as you remember. During that time, I was pretty focused on going into law school. And I think for me, the thing that I loved the most was pressure. I mean, if you look at all the things that I was interested in, whether it was sports broadcasting, being on TV, doing live journalism, law, there's a lot of pressure that's involved in that. It's a lot of you performing. And that's something I did my whole life with gymnastics and cheerleading. And I wanted to carry the talents of the pressure and performing under the pressure into whatever my career may have turned out to be. So during that time, we obviously did the CCP program in high school to try to prolong, or speed up my educational path, get into college, graduate from college, and there was a big event that happened in 2018. I had that major ankle surgery, and that was my junior year. I had a really bad ankle injury. I had to have 2 surgeries to fix that, and started trying to study for the LSAT through that. And I just remember going to the Chardon Library, and I'm sitting there, I'm in so much pain, my leg's bright purple, I can't even think, I'm trying to do the study practice things. I go to the test, I don't do well on the test. The one test I had to take 2 weeks after I had a surgery, and we were just you could only take the LSAT 4 or 5 times, I think, before they tell you can't do it anymore. And that was just not a good period for me. And so you and Mom, I remember we were sitting on the couch. We still had that big brown sectional upstairs.
Ugh. Hated that couch.
The oily mat couch.
Yeah, we called it the oily mat couch. Uh-huh.
And we were talking about it, and we were trying to make a decision on when I was going to do the next LSAT, but we knew we had some other medical things coming up, and you and Mom had said, what about just getting into manufacturing? I think you first asked me about metrology. You're like, what about metrology? What about quality and getting into sales and things like that? And I was like, I don't know, yeah, maybe. Because at the time, I heard you talk about manufacturing, and I'm sure we'll get into kind of what I thought about the industry in a little bit, but I didn't really have any knowledge about what that actually meant and how important that really is to the world. And you eventually talked about it for a couple weeks, keep going. And I was super bored at the contracting law firm that I was working at. Loved the people there, they were great, but it was there's no way I want to get into contracts. And then you said, we got a social media thing that we want someone to be on camera and do this. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's that pressure. The pressure of looking down the camera and getting the words right and knowing the specs and learning the machines, that's that pressure that I'm looking for. And so that's why I was like, all right, yeah, let me give this a chance. And that's kind of how it happened. I came to do my interview, had my suit on, my notepad, Scott interviewed me. We were in the big boardroom.
So you were sold.
I was sold.
So I sold you.
You did. Wow, you're a good sales guy.
Just kidding. Yeah, no, that was, the audience might be interested. I would be if I was listening. So the short story about your ankle, the procedure you had done.
So I had
What it's called.
I had a Watson-Jones ligament procedure done. It's kind of complex to explain, but you can always look it up. And then I had a fusion of my subtalar joint, so that really, really heavily limited a lot of the things that I could do. And both of those surgeries were done in the same one. So having a bone and a ligament surgery together was very difficult. So I ended up having difficult on the healing side. So I ended up having to have a second surgery to just clean everything out, kind of do a couple things. And then after that, I developed a nerve disorder called CRPS. A lot of people don't know that I have that. Then I had a back surgery to get a stimulator device implanted in my back. And that kind of gives me the ability to walk and, not be in as much pain. I probably get most of the time 80% coverage on the pain-free side, but a lot of restrictions come around that. It was a really difficult time.
It's actually pretty amazing technology.
It is.
It basically...
Talk about manufacturing and good technology.
I mean, it intercepts when your brain tells you the nerve pain is there. Mm-hmm. That stimulator intercepts that activity and doesn't allow the mind, it eliminates the pain. So, and I've seen it firsthand. I remember when we were in Aruba when you got engaged, she lost connection with her handheld device and immediately, within seconds, the foot's turning a different color and the pain's increasing, and we're freaking out trying to figure out how to reconnect it, get it synced up. So there's always winners adjust.
Winners adjust.
And that's been a good thing. So
yeah.
Okay, so you talked for a second about your perception of the industry coming in. Mm-hmm. Not, you knew you liked the pressure side of it. You knew you liked the social media side, the ambassador of our group side of it. But what was your perception when you came in versus what you know now, going into your, going to be here for 5 years now? So what were the biggest differences of what you thought it was going to be, and what you were going to learn, and what you actually you did learn?
I think a lot of people start by saying, I thought it was dirty, and it's not. I don't know that I had that perception because you always talked of manufacturing very highly. So I never really thought that it was like a dirty, oily industry, but I didn't realize how high-tech it was and how literally ingrained it is in everything. I mean, I wouldn't even have the stimulator in my back if it wasn't for manufacturing. Abbott's a manufacturing company. Abbott manufactures a device. So I don't think I realized how just intertwined it is with everything. I mean, I look at everything now different. I look at these microphones and I'm like, I wonder how these little slots were made on a, it's hard to look at things now and not think how it was made. And I didn't think that was going to be the case at all.
You've heard me say it. If you make it, mine it, or grow it. That's what we say in our industry. That's where wealth is generated. That's where everything starts.
Right.
Everything else after that is dollars kind of regurgitated in the economy that are needed. Services. Sure. You need people to fix your air conditioner. You need people to assemble the but it's if you're making it, mining it, or growing it, that's where the ball starts rolling. Yeah. That's why I always thought, being in the manufacturing side, it's every day is what's the show on? I think it's on Discovery, How It's Made.
Yeah, How It's Made.
Every day is another How It's Made thing.
It's
made. Oh my God, I didn't realize that was how that was machined, that was made, or how that was stamped, or how that was ground, or how that was 3D printed, or whatever it might be. So
well, and too, Connor, my fiance, and I were soon to be husband actually by the time this episode comes out.
Oh boy,
I know, but we're big into firearms, and so when you took me into, I don't want to disclose anybody's names. You took me to a shop that made guns, and I just when I saw that big hunk of metal, I'm like, that turns into a 9mm. What? It was mind blowing to me. I called Connor. I'm like, you're not going to believe this.
We can plug Little Mountain in metal.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that was a 9mm frame that they produce on some Mazak C600. So, yeah, it's pretty neat how things start, where they start from, and what they're finished. Anything else on the perception side and what's?
That's probably the number one. I think the number two was the community around manufacturing. I did not expect talk about relationships we've talked about in past episodes, the relationships that you would build and the people that you would meet and the things that you would learn. I mean, from the side of the people that I'd meet, one of my best friends is from manufacturing. I've gone to Utah twice now to see her, Rachel Marshall and Luke out at Excel Machine.
She's coming to your wedding.
She's coming to the
all
wedding.
The way across the country.
Yep, coming. I mean, never thought that. Hallie Hupp, her and I are great friends. Melissa Ramos. I mean, I've met a lot of really great at people that have really become friends. So that was a big shocker. And just the learning side. I feel like when you go into other industries, and I mean, I can only speak for like law and like coaching, like gymnastics and stuff. There's always things to learn, but I feel like from the manufacturing side, it's way more layered. I mean, you have like all these different machines. Like first you got to learn the machine names. Then you got to learn exactly what the heck they're talking about. And then what each machine even does. And then how it fits per application. And then it's the material. And then it's the spindles. And then why is a 15K spindle better than a 12K? Or in what scenario would that be? Bar feeders, all the ancillary things. It's so much broader and like deeper than I thought it was ever going to be.
Well, I'm thinking when you're talking, it's also, you've heard me say this also, that it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
This industry is a lifestyle, no matter if you're on the marketing side of things, if you're in the sales side, in the engineering side, at least the above average ones. So as you're saying these things, you also got to, younger people that are listening, they have to have the right open mind and the attitude about it's not a job.
No.
Every single person I interview on the sales side of the business is, if you're looking for a job, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean family's not first, or God's not first, family's not first. It just means it's a lifestyle. It's something that you have to have an open mind. You have to want to learn. You want to have to absorb and be like a sponge. And you've been like that. So, and that's probably why you've been making the friendships and doing so well. So that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
That's good. So speaking of friends and other people, so my next question is, who has been the most influential to your growth in the business? I should say in the industry, not so much just in our business, but
Sure.
in the entire business. I know you've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people. A lot of people have taken the time to coach you and teach you, and again, your open mind has allowed you to absorb those things and learn from them. So let's go through that list.
So, I mean, obviously, number one would be you. I mean, you got me into the industry. You've taught me so much. You'll call me after.
I'm your dad, though. It's not fair.
Well, okay, but still, I got to give you a little shout out.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But, I love when you call me after sales calls. You're like, I'm just telling you this so it's a learning thing. And I'm like, all right. I put my listening ears on. I open my notes on my phone. I try to write down things that, what you say. And, that's been a really big help, and especially help on helping what we should market, on the social media side and stuff, hearing customer challenges and whatnot. So that you've been obviously the number one. Scott Mazon, our marketing manager, he's been huge. I mean, I didn't know a lot about marketing when I came into here. I just knew I was open and wanting to learn. And so Scott's really pulled me along, taken me under his wing. So he's been one.
He's got a really big head, so he's going to listen to this now, and you're never going to hear the end of it. Sorry, Mazon.
Oh, that's funny. Chris Miller, our talked about him a lot. He's our vice president down at Crotts and Saunders. Learned a lot from him. Always loved talking to him. And then kind of not from the HEH side, I think I've been really fortunate that from the circles that you're in with AMT and the relationships that you've built, there's been a lot of people, from the executive level, like Greg Volovic, Mike Chico, Dan Yanka, Chris Bailey, Steve Stokey, that have given me a chance to talk to them and learn from them. And they sometimes even go out of their way to like come and talk to me and ask me questions, and I'm asking them questions. And that means a lot to me, being a young person in the industry and, not really knowing a lot, but learning as much as I can, that some of these people at the executive level are giving me an opportunity to learn from them. So they've been really influential, helpful, and very allowed me to gain a lot of insight throughout my first 5 years.
Maybe we should disclose how Volovic is so lazy that he paid you to set up his LinkedIn account.
What should we disclose?
What do you mean,
Greg, I'm sorry. I didn't. That was not on. that was not on my list today. Things to talk about.
I know Greg's been a big influence for you. So
very much so. Yeah.
He's an easy target to give some trouble to.
Fair enough.
I wanted to get back to Miller though. Why
Yeah.
Chris? Why specifically Chris? Do you think? His age, maybe. I mean, he's a big 4-0 now, but when you got to know him, he was 35, you were 20-some, so closer in age probably. And what else?
I think with Chris, kind of the couple things that really stand out is obviously when you guys acquired Crotts and Saunders, he was really young. And I remember you talking about Chris and the sales side, and I remember meeting him down at, what's that, Carolina Ale House, is that it?
Yeah, Carolina Ale House.
We met him and his wife Jen there, and I remember being really young and talking to him, and I was always just like, man, that guy's like really good at talking and the vocabulary that he uses, and that always really impressed me. And then when I was really young, obviously, and then once I got...
It's hard to miss him, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of tall. Then once I got into the industry, I think just the way that he, communicates with his sales guys, he values data, his attention to detail.
Yep.
He's helped me a lot on the marketing side, like, oh, hey, this graphic might look better if it's this way, or why don't we communicate this? I think he has a lot of really good insight, and it's interesting and encouraging to see somebody young in the business doing as well as he is.
Yep, Chris is doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know that a lot of people ask you this question, but in a male-dominated industry and space, what have been some of your challenges there as a young lady? Has it been you've been able to shrug the nonsense off without issue, or talk to that a second?
I think number one is upbringing-wise. I mean, you and Mom always told us it doesn't matter. You go after what you want, and you learn what you want, and you be confident in what you know. And that has definitely helped me being, one, new to the industry to begin with, and then two, being a woman in a male-dominated field. So when I walk into a room...
Dad's got a lot of guns, too. So.
Yeah, that too. That helps, But when I walk into a room and there's you're at a board... big table or whatever, and there's 10 guys and there's just me. There's a quote, and I always forget the woman's name, but she was a sports analyst, and she always said that if you're a woman in a male-dominated field, you can't look at it as a disadvantage. You have to look at it as an advantage, because when you speak, you sound different than everybody else, so everybody's listening.
Yeah.
And so I think I've really put that hat on and just really thought about it that way. I also am willing to admit when I don't know things, and I'm willing to work hard to prove to people that I do know things, the things that I do know, and the openness to learn. I think the challenges probably, for you growing up, you probably, you learn how to use a drill and put things together. So like some of the words and stuff that are in the industry, it's like a whole new vocabulary. You probably had more prior knowledge to, versus me. I knew makeup and eyelashes and cheerleading and sparkles. So there was a big transition with that. And then I'm fortunate enough, and thank you to everybody that, follows all of our stuff, that I don't get a lot of comments on social media about, oh, Shae this, or I actually do have one funny story I'll tell you in a second, but Shae, oh, female, and making weird comments. But there was one occasion that I remember. I was leaving the Mazak dinner actually at IMTS with Chris Miller, and
the big world dinner. Yeah.
The big world dinner. Yep. And this guy came walking really fast, and he's yelling at me, and I need your number, and you get back here, and saying all kinds of things. And Chris was like, get in the car. Chris Miller, get in the car. He slammed the door, and he took care of that guy. I mean, he was ready to throw down. That could have been a bad night.
A bad night for that guy.
Yeah, it could have been a bad night. So I think sometimes you got to be wary of that. So I try to, do what I can to avoid those situations. But I think just in life, they're inevitable. Yeah. The funniest thing, though, that has happened to me, and this is unrelated to being a woman in the industry, is one of our old sales guys told me to post this medical video post in a medical chat on LinkedIn about one of the digital microscopes we used to sell. Little did I know, he's like, go into this chat. I thought that he had researched it already, so I'm like, all right, go into this, send this video, whatever. So I do that. Well, no, really, it was a bunch of doctors. It was like a medical forum. It wasn't like a medical manufacturing forum. So I post a video in there, and this guy comments on it asking if I have some type of vocal cord disease because my voice sounded weird. It's like, well, you have a really weird voice. You should go and get this checked out. I think you have something with your vocal cords. And I'm like, I've never. So yeah, that happened. But
makes you sing better. That'll be a different episode.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so my last thing here as we wrap up is I wanted to do something a little fun here. So I want to have a contest.
All right.
Okay, for our viewers, there is a bottle of bourbon in it for you, as well as some HEH swag. So
can I win myself? This contest?
You cannot win.
Okay.
So
right.
Shae is big time into fitness and always has been into fitness. And so she's at the gym, 4 or 5 days a week, whatever it is.
6 days a week.
6 days a week. About the same as I'm in for the whole year. But so we're going to have a contest of who could guess what your max bench press is.
Okay.
Bench press in the right, with the right, feet down, all the right techniques.
Okay.
So I know you don't mind, so I'll ask you this question so the audience knows, so they can have some guidance on how to guess.
Okay.
What is your height?
Okay.
What is your height?
My height is 5 foot. I'm just under 5'1". I'm technically 5 foot and like 7/8.
Okay. And your weight?
I am 112 pounds of fury.
112 pounds of fury. That's a hint of fury.
Yep.
Okay, so they need to do what? They need to put it in comments or whatever. Whoever guesses their max bench press, the closest, will be getting a bottle of bourbon from the Maker's Vault, as well as some HEH swag.
All right.
The last fun thing we're going to do real quick is we are both Browns fans. We both bleed brown and orange. I'm sorry I passed it on to you. I've been doing it since I've been 5 years old. And so we're going to do some Cleveland Browns questions.
Okay, I like it.
Which ought to be funny. And these are all from your era, obviously.
Okay.
But since we both have this passion, let's run through this, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of comments. So, who is your favorite Browns coach since you've been a fan?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I think
it's not Freddie Kitchens.
For entertainment purposes, it would be Freddie Kitchens.
Okay.
Nothing's like a flea flicker on 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, I have to say Kevin Stefanski.
Not unfortunately. He's been the coach of the year 2 times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
He's made some questionable decisions, but I would say that came from ownership, not him. So
yeah,
I think
from a winning standpoint, it would have to be Kevin Stefanski.
For me, it would be Marty Schottenheimer, just because that was the back in the 80s, and he was fantastic. How about the worst? How about the worst coach in your era?
Well, I could say Kevin Stefanski. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Probably Freddie Kitchens or Hugh Jackson.
That was 0-16.
0-16. Yeah, we went like 1-15 the one year. We won like the last game, and then we went 0-16 the next year, and then they hired him back, and then we were like 3 games in, they fired him, and then that's when Greg Williams stepped in. Now, I liked him as a head coach. He was pretty fiery. I'm like intense. A fiery kind of, yeah.
He was intense. But I would have to agree, even in my era, going back further, Hugh Jackson. That was probably the low, just because you factor in the record.
Yeah, you got to factor in the record.
Now, how about QBs? Your favorite Browns QB?
Oh, it's got to be Baker Mayfield. Baker, if you're seeing this, please give us a shout out.
And Baker, we need a keynote speaker as well for our pigskin kickoff in August.
August, we'll send your team the dates.
Just help us out here. We got Baker stuff all around. Baker, and definitely, the recent history would be mine. I mean, he's the only one that went into Pittsburgh and won a playoff game. He's the last person to throw as many touchdowns as a Cleveland Brown would have been Brian Sipe in the early 80s. So, hey, Baker Mayfield's got my vote. Certainly being Bernie Kosar is probably my all-time favorite, but Baker's certainly there. How about running backs? That's probably a no-brainer for you.
Nick Chubb, for sure.
Yeah, great guy, great running back, great yards, great statistics, great teammate. So I would probably, outside of going back to Kevin Mack, and Ernest Biner, back in the Schottenheimer days, I would say Nick Chubb too.
Yeah, classic.
Now, how about kickers? And we say kickers because we always have fun with our buddy Phil Dawson. We were Phil. So bad. What year was that?
We were
That might have been the Hugh Jackson year.
Was it? Actually, I think it was.
Maybe. It could have been. Was Phil there then? Either way, tell the story about that game. We were Phil's biggest cheerleaders in the stands.
So Phil Dawson is my favorite kicker of all time. Any NFL team, and probably my favorite Cleveland Browns player.
Don Cockcroft would be mine.
Okay,
you
all right.
You remember him?
No, I don't. But so
or Matt Barr. Go ahead.
Okay, fair. So we're at a Browns game, and we are just doing so bad. It is unbelievable. So you start going, Phil, Phil, like as loud as you can in the stands. It was hilarious. You're like, come on, Shae, we got to cheer for Phil.
He was our only guy to cheer for.
We were going crazy. And then we went to a practice. Remember we went to a practice?
Yeah.
And we were also screaming for Phil. We were hoping he was going to come over, but
Phil was a legend. Yeah. It's not all the time you're chanting for a kicker, but we had no other people to chant for.
Well, we still don't on the kicker side.
Okay, so that wraps up our episode. So I appreciate all you listening, and I'm going to pass it over to Shae for the official closing.
Well, Dad, I think you did a pretty good job being the interviewer.
I did my best.
You did good. That was good. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video. Leave us a comment. Be sure to guess how much you think my bench press is, and I'll be monitoring those comments. Make sure you don't... It's not that low, so guys, get really be thinking about that. All right, thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. A lot of people always ask when I'm out, and I'm sure they ask you, does social media actually work? Do you guys actually see business from it? Can you talk about some of the things that we've experienced since starting our whole strategy?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we wouldn't be doing it because, we're not getting paid to do it. We're doing this on our own dollars, and we do it because it works. I've got people that ask me that quite often, our friends in St. Louis and other places that, the one recent one here, which would be good to talk about, was a YouTube video that you posted of an automation system that we offer. And as luck would have it, or as reality would have it, the vice president of a very large customer of ours already, but was not aware that we were carrying this product yet, saw it after hours sitting at home, saw the YouTube video on LinkedIn, and then forwarded it to his director level people. And now here we are engaged in a very large multiple unit opportunity. So if that's one example, there's another 10 or 20. So. Yeah.